Okay. Yeah. So we today will talk about Bhagavad Purāṇa, also known as Srimad Bhagavatam, which is one of the many texts, but also the one of the key texts which describes the whole astronomical basis of the ancient Indian astronomy. So, and it is also very prone to misinterpretations. So hopefully, what we'll try and do is look at the whole text, look at the traditional interpretations, the interpretations of the misinterpretations of some people, and how does it compare to the modern scientific data, or the modern interpretations of astronomy. Okay, starting off with Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. We'll start off with our Shanti mantra. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Savirya Karvavahe Tejasvi Navati Tamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May we all be protected and nourished with knowledge. May we make effort for the capacity of knowledge to take place. What is studied be us be clear. Let us not have any misunderstanding. Peace, peace, peace. I'll start off again, taking you back to Orion, the constellation, which in the Indian terminology is known as Mriga. And Orion, again, just to recap, is named after a Greek hunter in mythology, in Greek mythology. And the brightest stars there are Betelgeuse and Rigel, and they are the principal stars in the nakshatra Ardha and Mrigashirsha. So Rigel is in Mrigashirsha and Betelgeuse is in Ardha. There is last time I showed you one constellation. One nebula, which is pretty known as pretty interesting and known as the Orion Nebula, and this is the entire constellation is like known as the pillars of creation. Many stars are actually known to be born in this area. So today we'll look at another nebula in this region. So this, one second, I'll just put it on the laser pointer. So this is what we saw last time, the Orion Nebula, and what he said was present in the sword of the hunter. Now, they are going to look at another nebula called the Horsehead Nebula, and that is present just below the belt of the hunter. Again, it's about 1,300 or so light years away, and it is just south of this star called the Alnitak, which is one of the bright stars in the belt of the nebula. And this is also known as IC 434. IC is just a cataloging number. So this is the number that is being given to that nebula. So I just captured it earlier this year. So here you can see it. It resembles the head of a horse. So that's why it's called the Horsehead Nebula. And here is that Alnitak at the bright star in the belt. So this is just below that. And so if you go on to the next one, we can see that this Horsehead Nebula has been captured. It is one of the most distinctive objects in our sky. Um, and the first image that you see here is captured by European satellite or ESA telescope called Euclid. And then the second image is a close-up of that Horsehead Nebula, and it's captured by Hubble, from the Space Telescope. And this was captured in 2013, and that was about what the 23rd anniversary of the launch of the Hubble telescope. And even there is even more of a zoom in into the upper region captured by the James Webb telescope just I think a few months ago. So this is the general nature of the Horsehead Nebula and the general area of the birthplace of stars. Okay, so today we're going into looking at Srimad Bhagavatam, and this is generally the roadmap, the agenda of what we'll be talking about. So we'll talk about, we'll go into a little bit of understanding what is Bhagavata Purāṇa, what are the different dates, what is the background of it, and what is essentially the cosmological model that is presented. And that is actually presented in what is known as the fifth canto or the fifth skanda of the Bhagavata Purāṇa. And there they talk about Brahmanda, they talk about Bhumandala, Jambudvip, they talk about all the planetary systems, both the vertical and the horizontal structure of the universe. So, so this is here you have the Bhuloka, then you have the vertical differentiation of the universe as given in Bhagavata Purāṇa. They also talk a lot about the planetary motions. They talk about the sun chariot with the wheels of the chariot, and right in the center is the axis called the Mount Meru, Meru Parvat. That is the axis along which the chariot of the sun rides. So that is an interesting concept as well. They talk about there is quite a bit of talk in terms of the distances. So that is expressed in this term called yojana. So they have different yojanas in expressed, and there's a word of caution here because the yojanas are not always a physical distance. They also incorporate the entire Srimad Bhagavatam actually incorporates a lot of spirituality in there. So it is a mix of spiritual and astronomical or physical knowledge. They talk about temporal cycles, which is again corresponding to the time cycles. So all the yugas and kalpas, which they also express in the day and night of the gods. And we'll talk, I mean, all this, we will actually intersperse our lecture, our discourse with comparison to modern astronomy. So even though we have a separate topic here, it will be part of everything else. We will talk about what and how it relates to modern astronomy. There have been many different differences, and there is a very narrative about geocentric versus heliocentric. So I think we'll talk a little bit about that as well. And there's also this whole a narrative that Srimad Bhagavatam talks about the earth being flat shaped. So that is something we'll talk about as well. We also will rely quite a bit on the interpretation by a couple of different people, but one person in particular, Richard Thompson, he's done a lot of work and a lot of good work in this area, and a lot of good interpretations in this area. We'll talk about the fact that the entire Srimad Bhagavatam is very symbolic. So it kind of mixes symbolic with observational. So it is phenomenal versus spiritual. So it mixes the two together, and sometimes it is very hard to actually to tease out the observational aspects and the spiritual aspects separately. So people tend to get very easily clouded by the different interpretations, and the misinterpretations can exist quite a bit. Okay, so we'll talk about Puranas in general. Purana again comes from the root Pura. Pura is something that happened before, and therefore it is usually in Sanskrit termed as Purana, being something which is ancient or old. So it is a collection of a lot of literature, a lot of narratives, a lot of stories, a lot of legends, but all of that is designed to convey the message of different aspects of life, different morals. However, it also contains a huge amount of knowledge in the subjects such as cosmology, astronomy, geography, medicine, arts, and architecture. So it is, it is that the one of the narratives that people have is that it is all mythology, and it is all just full of stories. So that is one of the things that just going through in the last few months or whatever, I found that it is much more than that. And again, to come back to mythology, the origin of the word mythology was from the Greeks. It was a combination of mythos and logos, where mythos meant stories that convey certain truths, and logos meant verifiable historical events. So in Greek philosophy and Greek history, they actually combined the two because they knew that they could not, they could not convey the history without resorting to stories. So they combined the two and called it mythology. However, mythology took on a very different meaning, especially as colonization happened, and it entered the English language, and a lot of ancient Indian history was termed as mythology, and it almost took on a pejorative meaning, and it became everything from ancient India became a myth, and for some reason it was termed as being false, and that is the unfortunate narrative that exists even now. So anyway, coming back to Purana, so it was traditionally believed that Vyasa was one of the primary authors about that he classified the Purana into all the different sections and so on. Um, However, there is a belief that there are multiple authors, and Vyasa was more of a classification. What he did was actually classified rather than actually writing some of them. So they have been grouped into Mahapurana, so 18 Mahapurana, and traditionally again, they've been grouped into three regions, so three areas, so Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, but according to the gunas, and again, I mean, there might be differences between different sects and different denominations within, say Vaishnavites and Shaivites, but anyway, that is not our main focus at the moment. But that is that is the history of the Puranas. And again, if there's any questions, please, I don't think, we need to wait right till the end, but if you have anything, just raise your hand and we can go through them. Okay, so now, like I said, Puranas have a significant amount of cosmological information in there. So that includes the entire astronomy, and what they actually do is many of the Puranas actually talk about what is known as Pancha Lakshana, five Lakshanas, and they talk about Sarga, Pratisarga, or Visarga, Vamsha, Manamantra, and Vamsanucharitra. And so this is all about the Sarga and Pratisarga, or sometimes also known as Visarga, are the primary creation of the universe. They talk about the creation, and again, it is expressed mainly in the form of stories, and and as students of Sanskrit, you'll probably know that each shloka is so much information is there in each shloka. So you have to actually, you can write pages and pages on each shloka. Cosmology is indeed a standard component within most of the Puranas, and quite a few of the Puranas describe the creation or the formation of the universe. They talk about time cycles. They talk about the lokas. They talk about higher and lower worlds. They talk about the yugas, the manvantras, and kalpas, and we'll come to that later on. They also talk about some geographical information about Mount Meru, Jammu Deep, and all that, and we will come to that as we go. Okay, so one of the things that the Puranas use tends to be the unit of yoja. So this is a very familiar unit that has been used in many of the ancient Indian texts, and It is very frequently used in Bhagavata Purāṇa, and it has been used to describe the dimensions, the vastness of the universe. It also has been used to look at various other realms within the Brahmanda, within the Bhumandala, and so on. And it is slightly varied in terms of interpretation. So there are different units of modern length and modern distance that has been attributed to the yojana. So some people talk about one yojana being between 8 to 10 miles, and this is probably very widely accepted. But again, in Surya Siddhanta, for example, one yojana is used as 5 miles, and that obviously was used in many of the calculations in Surya Siddhanta. Now, in the ISKCON Vaishnava text, they have used 8 miles. Many of the interpretations here are based on that 8 mile value. Some of the Buddhist texts have given it a couple of different values in terms of kilometers, 7 and 24. And again, they have based this distance on the distance of marching. Those have varied. So that unit or that comparison has varied according to different scriptures and different usage. The root of the word yojana is basically yuja, and it comes from joining or to yoke or to make union. And originally, of course, it came to the distance of an army or cart pulled by oxen that could travel in a day. So that's where it originated from, but it has varied according to texts and time. So now coming on to the Bhagavata Purāṇa as well, as such. So it is one of the 18 Mahapuranas. There are many Mahapuranas in the 18. So something that you probably have heard of is Vishnu Purana, Garuda Purana, Narada Purana, Padma Purana, and so on. They are typically the Vaishnavite texts. And then there is also the Brahma texts, or what some people talk about as being the Rajas Purana, and there are the Brahma Purana, Markandeya Purana, Bhavishya Purana, and so on. And there are the Shiva Purana, which are the Skanda Purana, Shiva Purana, Matsya Purana. They are all part of the Shaivite traditions. And there are also Upa Purana. They're not the 18 Mahapuranas, but there are also some which are the Upa Purana as well. So there is a lot of texts and a lot of Mahapurana, and I think the total of the verses in the Puranas are something like more than 100,000 verses. So only in the Bhagavata Purāṇa there are about 18,000 verses. So and you can imagine each verse or each shlok it has so much information in it. And one of the reasons it has so much information in it was because of the oral transmission that happened earlier. So it was uh, it was it made much more sense to actually pack a lot of information into small verses which could be orally transmitted. So once the writing or once the writing which lasted for a long time actually began, then you could actually decode those shlokas, and each shloka would actually have so much information. It is almost like what somebody would call a zip file. So you unzip it to get all the information out of it. So, like I said before, it was traditionally attributed to Vedavasa, and it is again traditionally set around the time of the traditional beginning of the Kali Yuga, around 3000 BCE. And now the core conversation that is actually happening in the Bhagavata Purāṇa is between Sukadeva uh, Goswami and the king Parikshit. Now Parikshit was the grandson of Arjuna, and the story goes that he was actually um, cursed to die in a short time, and within a week, I think. And in that period, he wanted to see what he could do to try and attain moksha. And then Sukadeva Goswami, who's actually Vedavyas's son, the realized soul, actually told him all the mysteries or all the manifestation or what is known as the divine manifestation that he could understand, and then he could attain the moksha that he was desiring to. So that is the background of what Bhagavata Purāṇa actually is. So it focuses a lot on bhakti, but it also incorporates a fair amount of cosmology. And if you look at the skandhas, or which are translated as cantos, the fifth canto, which is called the creative impetus, this actually talks a lot about cosmology, and that is what we will probably be focusing on. But we also will be talking about the first, the cantos 1 and so cantos 2 and 3, which talk about some of the creation theories as well. But as you can see, there are 12 skandhas, and a total of about 18,000 verses, and there are so I put down some notes about what those cantos actually mean, and uh, so there is a lot of emphasis on bhakti, of course. There is the in Canto 6, there is it talks about dharma, talks about the duties of mankind. This is quite a bit about bhakti, and it talks about Prahlad, Hiranyakashipu. It then let's see. Uh, Canto 9 talks about Parshurama and Rama, and Canto 11 talks about Uddhava Gita. So, Krishna's instructions to Uddhava. And the Canto 12 talks about Kali Yuga. So, it is, as you can see, very extensive. So one of the things it talks about in the second canto, it talks about cosmogenesis, the creation theories, the creation stories that are found in the Bhagavata Purāṇa. So the second canto is titled The Cosmic Manifestation. So in every aspect, it talks about, it combines the spiritual and phenomenal aspect of the universe. So it never keeps it separate. And I think that is a very common thing in all the ancient astronomy, that it never talks about astronomy as a purely materialistic part. It always talks about the astronomy, or what we see as being a manifestation of the entire presence of divinity in the universe. So it talks about the primary creation, Sarga, and the secondary creation, Visarga. So the third canto talks about the Visarga, and the third canto is called the status quo. One of maybe a bit of a confusion into terms, Sarga, Visarga, and there are terms which are also known as Srishti and Utpatti. So those are the different terms that have been used in different texts. So I just wanted to clarify that. In this particular text, Sarga is used as the primary creation, the creation of the building blocks of the cosmos. The Visarga is a secondary process of creation, which is the process of populating the universe with life. So, but it is using the Sarga to actually pump in life within the creation. So there is also in many Vedantic texts Shrishti and even Utpatti. But Shrishti is a general term for creation. So it could be primary or secondary, it could be combination of the two. And there is another term in Sanskrit which is known as Utpatti, but Utpatti is not necessarily Utpatti or the creation of the universe. It can be the origin of anything. It can be in the first point of any creation. So it talks that there are different chapters within the second and third canto which talk about this Sarga and Visarga, and it talks about the appearance of Brahma from Vishnu's navel, but we'll talk about it a little bit more. So again, in the Bhagavata Purāṇa, it talks about Sarga, and there it talks about the presence of Mahavishnu, and it talks about the Mahavishnu actually on a bed of ocean known as Kshirisagara. And then it talks about the inhalation and exhalation of Mahavishnu. And from that inhalation and exhalation, you actually have this process of creation and dissolution. So every time there is an exhalation, there are a formation of a countless Brahmanda or Brahma eggs. And so the universes are created. So Brahmanda is one universe. And like I said, there are countless universes created with every exhalation. And then when the inhalation happens, those universes are dissolved. Now, again, this sounds a little bit fantasy, a little bit away from reality, but how does it correspond to reality? So let's see. So it gives you a perspective of multiple universes. So it talks about multiverse, countless universes constantly appearing and constantly disappearing. Now, keep in mind that every breath, every inhalation and exhalation of Vishnu in this case is trillions of years. So it is not happening. It is happening in a very short time for the creator, but for us, for the human years, you're talking about trillions of years. And it talks about innumerable universes, billions of universes existing simultaneously and all originating from the same ultimate source. And it talks about a spiritual material cosmos. So it is a combination of the two, the spirit and materials happening at the same time simultaneously. And the material realm is only really a fraction of the total spiritual spaces. Now, these are the actual verses in the Bhagavata Purāṇa which talk about these multiverses. Now, what is the current knowledge? So back in the 1980s, and we talked about the Big Bang theory, and we talked about the crunch and the big bounce theory. So when this was going on, there was a proposal in the 1980s that talked about the bubble universe concept. It was a little bit speculative, but it was to talk about this whole Big Bang, big bounce theory of the eternal inflation. How is it possible? Now, then, so it's been in the last few years that there have been even more papers and even more theories and even more research going into astrophysics that talk about these universes actually existing as bubbles. Now, again, it's not something that can be proven by modern science, but there is nothing to actually say that this is indeed the case. However, this is the most prevalent theory of the existence of multiverses, multi-universes. Again, these bubbles exist as disconnected from each other, is what is a speculation at the moment. That they have their own unique physical laws and constants. So that is the modern scientific version of this. And how does it correlate to what we have seen in Bhagavata Purāṇa is something is intriguing. I'm not saying that it is directly relatable, but it is definitely intriguing that thousands of years ago, this was what was speculated, this was what was theorized, and this was what was documented and related through stories. So that is an important part, that many astronomical facts have been passed on as stories. Okay, then let's see, going on to the next slide. Okay, so if you zoom on to the fifth canto, which is what is the most relevant in our situation. That we want to talk about the astronomy that is there in Srimad Bhagavatam. This part actually dwells into into the structure of the universe, the movement of the planetary systems, and the location of the planets. It's quite intriguing that it even talks about the distance of the planets. It talks about the dimensions of the planets, and as we go along, we will see how closely it matches the current values that are attributed to these. So again, going back, this is all happening in the conversation between Sukadeva and Parikshit, and so one might be curious as to why Parikshit, who was facing this clear death in front of him. Why was he interested in cosmology? Why was he interested in astronomy? What was his what is the reason for his curiosity? And in many places they talk about the fact that he was curious about understanding the manifestation of the divine, and he wanted to know in what ways the divine expresses itself. And this was what he said was absolutely important for him to know in order to cross and go into the state of moksha. So that is the reason for his curiosity. So the fifth canto talks about Bhumandala. It talks about the detailed geography of the Brahmanda. So we talked about Brahmanda here in our previous. Sorry, next one. Yeah. We'll talk about Brahmanda. We'll talk, and then the fifth canto talks also about the motion of the sun, the actual distances, and there are in the fifth canto 26 chapters in all, and each different section, a different chapter dwells upon the description of the different aspects. Chapter 16 to 19 talk about the Jambu Dvipa and all other Dvipas. And again, I will talk about those Dvipas and what they actually mean. Chapter 20 talks about the orbit of the sun. 21 to 23 talks about the motion of the planets. And 24 talks also about what is known as the Garbhodaksha Saga, that is the ocean or the subterranean ocean that is below us. How are we doing on time?
What did you say was the last part, sir?
Garbhodaksha ocean, this one?
Yeah, correct. Garodaksha Ocean. Okay.
Yeah, Garbhodaksha Ocean, or the Garbhodaksha Sagara, which is actually the subterranean
Okay.
part of the Brahmand or the Bhuloka.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, yeah, we'll then talk a little bit about what actually is Brahmanda. So we saw that there are innumerable Brahmandas that come out from each breath of Mahavishnu. And then Brahmanda actually obviously means anda. Anda is the egg. So Brahma's egg is actually it's quite interesting. Even the Shiva Linga is actually in the form of an egg. So it is also another pointer to the elliptical egg form that all our Puranas and all our ancient knowledge talk about. So Brahmanda is this massive egg-shaped universe, and again, one of the many countless universes that exist. Again, like I said, it talks about a combination of the spiritual and the observational. So it talks about the composition of Brahmanda in 7 layers. So, and each layer, as you go along, becomes more and more subtle and more difficult to observe. And each layer, they say, is about 10 times greater in diameter than the one before it. So inside each Brahmanda is a smaller material universe called the Bhumandala, which has its own planetary system. So we are part of one tiny aspect of Bhumandala, a tiny aspect of Brahmanda in general. And our universe is considered much smaller in comparison with other universes in the countless Brahmandas. And it actually gives a value in yojanas, which is again translated as 4 billion miles and as in diameter. Now, we'll talk about what that distance, what that unit actually means. And if you take 10 times larger and you keep on multiplying, and you get to about 44 quadrillion. So that's 44 10 to the 17th miles in diameter for the entire Brahmanda. So now they have looked at Milky Way. They can't obviously go outside the Milky Way and measure the dimension of the Milky Way. But based on estimates, they are talking about a few, maybe 100 plus quadrillion miles in the size of the Milky Way. So Srimad Bhagavatam is not very different from that perspective. If you take that 10 times greater in diameter for each layer. And then, of course, we talked about Brahmanda as being a number of universes and so on. So then we can talk about sorry, no, my computer stuck. Okay, so yeah, we'll talk about the actual Bhumanda, but then how are we doing on time, Madhu?
We have another 10 minutes to go.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. So we'll talk about how the Bhumandala is defined in Srimad Bhagavatam. So Bhumandala is, you can translate that. Again, it's not a perfect translation, but it's being translated in many modern texts as being the earth mandala, or mandala is a circle and earth, they talk about Bhu as being the earth. But obviously, the size of the Bhu mandala is not the size of the earth, because the diameter is 500 million yojanas. Now, if you take the one yojana as being 8 miles, they're talking about 4 billion miles. So that is not exact representation of the earth that we live in. But as we see later, it is actually a very good representation of the entire solar system. So it is a very good cosmic map of the entire solar system that we inhabit. So we can talk about that as we go along. So it talks about Bhumandala as a conglomeration of islands and oceans. So Dvipa and Saga. So right at the very center is Jambudvip, and on Jambudvip is Mount Sumeru. Um, and that again, that is also a very tall mountain. So obviously, there is no mountain that is 100,000 yojanas tall in the center of Earth. However, we'll talk about what it actually means, because it actually signifies a very definite axis of the rotation of many things. So it is more of an actual representation rather than a physical observational object within the universe. So then it talks about different dvipas, and they are very concentric in nature, and there are each of these dvipas are separated by oceans of equal width. But again, we will talk about that, what those dvipas actually mean in the modern scientific interpretation. And then at this point, this is the end of the observational Brahmanda or observational Bhumandala. So this, what is known as the boundary, this is the boundary of sunlight. Beyond it lies Aloka Varsha. So it is actually something which the sun cannot illuminate. Now that is a very interesting concept as well, because it relates very well. So the last orbit actually the last island relates to the Pushkar Dvipa, relates to the orbital dimensions of Uranus. So it is quite interesting. As we'll go along, we'll see that. So now coming on to Jambu Dvipa, or should I probably pause here? I can take on in the next class, and I'll pause for any questions.
Yeah,
Yeah, Jay, I think
I think that would
this is
be
a good.
better. Correct. Yeah, it's a good place to come back. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah,
So I just wanted to add a couple of you know uh, kind of say, let's say, trivia, right? See, I
yes,
think first of all, the Bhagavata. Of course, we are only scratching the surface of Bhagavata here, but Bhagavata is said to be the Nigama Kalpataroho Galitam Phalam. So I'm not sure if you have heard about it, but what it actually means is Nigama is the Vedas, right? So Nigama Kalpataroho is the Kalpataru tree, which is the Vedas itself, right? So if the Vedas are the Kalpataru, Kalpavriksha tree, then the essence of that tree, which is present as the fruit of that Kalpataru tree, which falls down from the tree, is actually the Bhagavata Purāṇa. So it kind of emphasizes the how the Bhagavata Purāṇa actually captures the essence of all the Vedas, right? So I just wanted to it's a very interesting statement, oft quoted to kind of emphasize the importance of it. So I just wanted to mention that, number one. Second is this Brahmanda that Ajay talked about, right? So Brahma, I always refer to this Yatha Brahmande Tata Pinde, they say, right? So what is the macrocosm is the microcosm as well, and vice versa. So that's a very powerful statement looking from like a Phalita Jyotish or astrology perspective, right? Because see, we see all these planets like Jupiter, Saturn that are in the Brahmanda, right? But then we can also imagine as those systems or those grahas being inside the pinda, which is the, let's say, the inside the human body, right? And it often asks the question, "Hey, how can the Saturn that is so far away impact something that you do on your day-to-day life?" Right? So it is the interplay between these microcosm and the macrocosm that astrology has as the basis, right? Which causes So, for example, if a Saturn is transiting from one sign to another in the Brahmanda, there is also a subtle transit of sorts happening within the Pinda, which kind of impacts your life in a certain way, right? So that again, the quote that Yatha Brahmande Tatha Pinde is a very powerful and very intuitive thought when we talk about astrology. So I just wanted to share that interesting fact as well.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So what I'll do is I'll go through a little bit more of the description in Bhagavatam, but I think I will dedicate most of the next lecture to the scientific interpretations of what this actually means, because it is so easy, like I said, to misinterpret it, to actually dismiss it as saying that it is fantastical and it doesn't relate to any reality or anything that we know. But then there has been work done by many researchers which talk about what these actual indications in the Bhagavata Purāṇa actually mean from a realistic perspective.
Any questions, observations?
No,
Comments?
I think this was a very, very good session. I think a lot of things were good. I have to read it again to get those into the mind, but it was very good to see what is there. And I now continue to see some of the sankalpams we do with Bharatavarshe and all that, Jambudvive and all that, how it comes across is what now makes a sense.
Yeah, very interestingly, sir. We have another topic on the reckoning of time, right? So where we will
Okay.
talk about all this Manvantara Kalpa. And in fact, the way that I had structured that slide is exactly as per our Sankalpa, right?
Okay.
Parardha, Manvantara
Right.
Kalpa. So
Yeah.
we'll see how the concepts are. Actually, we are reiterating those concepts on a daily basis, right?
Correct.
When we do Sandhya Vandanam or something, right?
Many of them
So
we
we'll come
don't
across.
even, many people don't even understand them, but just keep saying them.
Yes, exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So,
Very nice. Yeah.
as we gone along, the science or the reasoning behind many of the rituals have gone. It's just the rituals that have stayed behind. So,
Correct.
Yeah. And I think in Bhagavata Purana, I'm not sure if Ajay will be touching upon it, is the story of Dhruva in Skanda 5. Very interesting story. I think so we can start drawing parallels with our pole star,
Whole
right? And
star.
how it is,
Correct.
and how it is beautifully captured in the story in the
yes,
Bhagavata Purana, right? So
exactly.
it will be very interesting to go through that
Yeah.
as well.
All right. Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank
Shri Guru
you, Ajay. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Dhanyawadaha.
Thank you.